Hi, everybody. I'm living in a black and white world. Are you going to live in a black and white world with me? What does that mean? I have no idea. I just pulled this up and I thought I'd make a message just to chat, and it ended up being on this filter, this black and white filter. And I thought, sure, maybe it's part of the message, I'm just going to go with it. Anyway, I just thought I'd socialize for a little bit today. What am I going to talk about? I mean, money. The root of all evil, they say, is money, right? If you were to look at all of the living beings on this planet, whether they're visible or invisible, literally, it's like plants and animals, or even the air that we breathe is a living substance. The cells of our body, living substance, consciousness even. The planet itself, the stars, all living things survive through another set of rules, right? Where we are the only ones that live and survive with money, right? Our survival depends on money. At one time, our survival depended on food and shelter and family. I think it's a no-brainer that human beings are a species that is social, a social species, that do better with others than they do completely and utterly alone. There's a reason why a baby must be taken care of. It can't raise itself. And I feel that in and of itself says something about our human race as a species, is our basic needs, food and shelter, and each other. If that's the base bone of what helps our race thrive, where does money fit into the picture? And I've been thinking about the concepts of brainwashing and subliminal messaging. There's so much innocence to this too. We don't even realize that it's happening, and how we can send subliminal messages without even knowing, without even meaning to. So let's say you're somebody who has a lot of money and you're driving a Lamborghini amidst a world of people who could only dream of having a Lamborghini, right? You're already sending subliminal messages that you have something others don't have. And everybody that watches you drive by is suddenly activated with an idea or a thought about what goes beyond survival, is material, wealth, prosperity. I want to become like a king to the world instead of one of the serfs or the slaves to the king. I don't want to be the one that's cooking the king's meals and cleaning up after the king and washing the sheets and making the bed. And I want to be the king that is served by all these others. What if the whole world wants to be the king? Who's going to take care of you? You'll have to take care of yourself. So now we reduce to people that take care of themselves and take care of each other. The truth is, we're all equal. So if money is the gift that separates us, if money is the gift that defines one's worth and value over another's worth and value, then are we evolving into the next level of human society with money in order to define still the worth and value of its people? I understand that you're going to work hard in order to provide something, a gift, an effort, an idea, a talent that suits the needs of another. And then there's an exchange, right? A type of trade. I'll do this for you in exchange for this. And that brings a balance to things, right? what else is there if we didn't trade or we didn't have exchanges? And what if we were just, it was just balance in and of itself? How do you earn a living? How do you make your life revolve around? I guess it's the concept of some people want to do something and other people want to do nothing, and those who do things are rewarded and those who do nothing get nothing. Isn't that kind of ego in the way that we evaluate, well, I did this and you did that and I did more than you? And then we could even stretch that conversation into, well, that's your opinion. Your opinion is you did this, 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 but what I'm actually seeing, your achievement, is you literally just must have spent your whole day thinking you did something, you literally did nothing. And now you're here convincing me of all these things that you're doing. I'm not going to give you anything for that, you know? And so now we're going into these weird arguments and weird exchanges and weird fantasy worlds and weird ways that we need to be rewarded for this, and but you did nothing there, and now we get all this conflict. I mean, I'm just thinking about the world. It's not just a simple exchange of money. It's not just a simple, I get paid this much to do this, you get paid that much to do that. There's emotional sensitivity about it. I don't even know how to go down that rabbit hole properly, because it would be so hard to go through all the different versions of reality and brainwashing that takes place. Even what they say, poverty consciousness, right? What creates poverty consciousness? It's a real phenomenon. What do we do? What do we do with this? Yes, that's where my mind trails off. There's a lot of sensitivities to this conversation, I'm sure. I don't know where the solution is, but Joe and I were talking about, let's say, you know, we're presented with so many options of what kind of TV we want to watch, right? And some of it's really ego-based and superficial, and some of it's, I mean, there's subliminal messages in everything that get you thinking about yourself and get you thinking about what it would be like to be that person. And it could be reality TV, or it could be a really incredible cartoon, or it could be, you know, it could be anything. It gets you thinking, it gets you feeling in different ways. It could be guilty pleasures sometimes. But we're presented with the next show, the next trilogy, or the next season that we've been waiting a whole year for. And we look forward to next year when the next season comes out. And we think about it even all year long. Boy, it'd be nice if it came out sooner. Like, what does that mean? And what I was thinking about is, what if the TV that was creating all this meaning in our life, or the video games that create all this meaning in our life, they're presenting a certain, I guess, flair to them. Even commercials show us the cars that we would love to drive. It's like, show us things that we would like to have that we cannot have. Just random spending on Amazon because it just feels good for the time, and then it's like a shopping addiction or something. It's just, this world is such a strange there's so much subliminal messaging that it's like unconscious behaviors that we're consciously aware of that we can't really stop. But what I'm trying to say is, had this idea that what if all there was just completely from the heart images, movies that aren't complicated, maybe boring, right? Yeah, what if it's not? Maybe that's what we need. Maybe we need really boring and beautiful TV that is exactly as it is. Here's a beautiful earth. Here's a baby laughing and people having wonderful exchange, but there wasn't anything in between. There wasn't anything revealing suffering or devastation. It would be a brainwashing of a different kind. It would be brainwashing us to believe and see and feel that it is a beautiful world and that we are beautiful people in this world and that the world is thriving and we are thriving in it. And there's nothing else there but that. We probably wouldn't need the TV anymore to tell us that, because we would be flourishing within our heart and wanting to live this adventure of life and participating in and interacting with people and not feeling resistance or fear or trauma. This is, I feel, quite blatantly obvious that the world has major flaws in our societal exchanges. There would be people studying this deeply, profoundly, that know about social behaviors and the psychology of what creates balanced people in communities, and that would know that what's going on in the world today is actually detrimental to our mental and emotional, physical, spiritual health, as well. The health of our children and the future of the human race is on a downward spiral. And how can this be okay? Why? It's like we are paying for the government to imprison us mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and they would have top-notch analysts to access that could give them the truth of this information, and they would know exactly what this is doing to affect people on a massive scale and don't care, because there's something good about this. And what good is coming from this other than continuing to divide, separate, reduce the well-being of people's mental, emotional health, all of this, physical health, etc., to degrade the basic rule of thumb of what helps the human race shine its brightest. If there are people that don't want the human race to shine their brightest, what kind of people are they? Have they lost their heart and soul? And how do we help them to find it again? If we choose to decide that we've lost our heart and soul and there's nothing left, and we're just going to let other people who've lost their heart and soul just do whatever they want, and it's just like, well, shrug our shoulders. What are we going to do now? I guess just live with it. I'll just keep living with it. So I think a lot about the practical world and the present day, and I think it's healthy to do this. It's getting my wheels turning. It's getting me reflecting. It's getting me feeling about things. It's not so much as I got to devise the answer right now, and it's more like I want to expand an awareness and meaning to who I am in this picture and this puzzle, and what I can do to better the world for the human race. When I started doing energy healing, it was quite obvious. All these things were very obvious, but that was not as powerful as influencing people to discover the power within themselves. Have I been able to achieve that? Have I been able to influence people to discover the power within themselves? I don't know. How can I make a difference? People have to choose to want to grow to the next level of themselves. And I had this vision of creating what could only be described as an army of energy healers. And it's not that kind of army. We're not here to take down the world. We're here to raise the vibration of the planet. We're all here to raise the vibration of the planet. I keep making videos, and I'm not just talking to myself. I have over 1,000 videos on YouTube. Like, I have all these client sessions. You can learn from what I'm doing and match it. You can do it yourself. You can impact yourself, your life, and all of those around you. And what is saying, I don't want to do that? I can't do that. That's not the person that I want to be today. Who do you want to be? And now here things are cycling around, and I don't feel a connection with creating an army of energy healers anymore. And one of the biggest things that I've learned over all these years is I can't force. That's why human ascension has kind of changed. I've kind of changed my relationship with that, because it's an inevitable process of growth and development that could take millions of billions of years. We could simply be blossoming into the next journey of chaos that seems to erupt in our historical timelines. That the human race has friction. We are in friction with the dark and light sides of our human race, as we are friction with the dark and light sides of ourselves, and we refuse to bring that into a wholeness, because the light side gives way for the dark side, and the dark side beats down the light side, and the light side chooses to be patient and will just keep living this way for all eternity. I don't want that. The light side has to get up and say, we're the flippin' wise ones here. We actually know something about what creates a good world, even for the dark sides that are refusing to welcome that in, because they're terrified to admit how wrong and how terrible and how disruptive their actions and behaviors have been, and they're living in a fantasy. And they're wanting us to live in that fantasy with them. Well, screw that. I have to somehow say something that reaches the present day people. I also have to keep doing energy to try to move this. Bring enlightenment, bring the truth to the surface. We all have the power to do that. I can't tolerate living in a disrespectful world. It's disrespecting the root of what humanity is. It is disrespecting us and asking us to disrespect ourselves and each other. I don't know how to motivate or inspire people more than they will have to inspire themselves. That's like the message Archangel Metatron had presented this to me, and it's meant different things at different times in my life, about realizing that just hear me out on this, okay? This is just one facet of the bigger picture, which has many facets of truth to it. It's that there's nothing that I, Abbey, can do, because all I can do is be myself. And when I do that, and I just be myself, it's like I can't convince people. I can't control people. I don't want to. Wouldn't even realize I was doing it. And maybe my vision of creating an army of energy healers was my idea of control, or my idea on a human level of what would be best for the human race, or what would help to move this, what would create a loving world. That living in a loving world was the best world that I could ever envision us all living in. And who's to say that's the right and the only way that it has to be? And that my desperate need for that loving world isn't necessarily everybody's need. And why the heck wouldn't it be everybody's need or desire that we would all live in a loving world? Because I can't decide when that day is. Because it's not up to Abbey to decide that today's the divine time because I said so. And I have to let that go to the divine, and when that divine time is going to be. And all I can do is keep following the prompts within myself. If the prompts say, I'm going to have Mr. Coffee, and I'm going to drink this and talk to you guys in black and white, And I don't really know what I'm going to say, but I'm going to say something because my heart is saying I want to talk to people. And so I'm just going to do that, I guess, you know? And maybe just by talking, it sparks ideas, it sparks something. I don't know. But I've seen it enough times that even in myself, right? I even witnessed this recently in a psychic mentoring session. A client had a higher self that was this adorable, bright fairy energy. Another higher self that was more of this challenging higher self. And more of a, it was like the Queen of Hearts, okay? And the Queen of Hearts is imbalanced. If you were to try to meet somebody in real life that behaves like the Queen of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland, what do you think that person would be like psychologically? What would their heart be like? And what would be their pain and suffering? What would be their greatest insecurity? And how would you help the Queen of Hearts to find wholeness? You bring the bubbly fairy into the heart of the Queen of Hearts, and then she finds herself, and now the higher self has merged with two sides of itself, merged together and created the next level version of the higher self. As you grow, your higher self evolves too. You reach the next evolution of your higher self. Did that happen in the present, or did that already happen and you're just catching up with that version of yourself in time? That version of your higher self in time, because you can conceive of it now where you could not conceive of it yesterday. But anything that is representing the Queen of Hearts, this angry woman whose heart is lacking, empty, desperately telling all of these cards what to do, to paint the flowers red and to paint the flowers white, or to paint the whatever. I didn't ask for this, you were supposed to do that. What a wretched person. What a very heartless, soulless person is the Queen of Hearts, right? And so aspects of our highest vibration break off from other aspects of our highest vibration, and they become the light and dark sides of us. And we are emanations of that in the physical. Our personalities will have aspects that are needs not met, aspects that are holding the light for the aspect that is the needs not met. The insecurities and the wholer sides of who we are that we try to get through each and every day with, right? Now we see this, the higher self, the dark and light sides merge together to create wholeness in the next level, right? So now the human is merging with their higher vibrational self and discovering a wholeness within themselves. Now see, the human race is not just, all these billions of people. We are, if you were to look at it, if you were to deduce it down to in its simplest form, the dark and light sides. We are the Queen of Hearts versus the bubbly happy fairy. And the bubbly happy fairy needs to choose, and the Queen of Hearts needs to choose, and both needs to become in oneness with one another. We aren't up against each other. We are transmuting and working into oneness with one another. One thing I have to emphasize here, the dark side, you could say, is the demon. It is lacking its light side. It is terrified of its light side. And the light side stepping up, because the light side is actually bigger than the dark side, but the dark side seems to say it is bigger than the light side, and the light side just shrugs its shoulders, says, okay, I'll let you live in your own self-manipulated delusion because I love you. I love you enough to be patient and forgiving, and I will be waiting here when you are ready to choose the light again. But I'm giving the light a good kick in the rear, because the light does need to make some influence, does need to make some encouragement to help its dark side remember itself. It needs to wake up and choose to help the dark side remember itself. But you cannot face your demon with a sword. You cannot face violence with violence. I am telling you, it does not solve the problem. If I were to go in the energy world and try to heal a demon by cutting it into pieces, I'm only cutting myself into pieces, and now we become two souls of rotting flesh in tyranny and agony, blaming each other for each other's sufferings. It doesn't work. Violence does not solve violence. Only love, only light. But how does the light get through to the dark? How does the light become heard by the dark. We just simply put our dang foots down. Our gosh darn foots. We put our foot down and we say, no, not today. Not today, you insecure brat of a freaking Queen of Hearts. Not today. And the Queen of Hearts is screaming and calling all of her cards to come and destroy every single one of us to say, nope, not today. And we keep standing our ground, not by the tens or the hundreds, the thousands, the millions. And we say, no, not today, not today, not for my fellow man, not for any of us, not for you and not for me and not for any of us, without judgment of the demon or the angel. What if we are just the incarnation of the original demons and angels of this planet? And we are still facing the demons and the angels. What a long and boring story. Like, will it ever end? What's the next season? What's the next saga? Am I looking forward to finding out what comes next year? Then more on the saga of the angels and the demons. It's so flipping boring. I am so bored. So what do we do to conquer the boredom? We have to discover how the light then speaks to the dark so that the dark then can break. The dark breaks by falling to its knees and bawling its flipping eyes out, and the angel comes and hugs the dark and says, we are our family. And this is what family does for family. It's going to happen, everybody. This is going to happen. We are going to witness it in our lifetimes. My heart and my mind and my power chooses to see this. This is where Archangel Metatron comes in. He's like, Abby, you don't get to decide. I'm like, I don't care, Metatron. I am so moved and I'm so passionate. I'm so determined, dang it. I am choosing to see the world, and we all have a right. We all have the heart. We all have the caliber to choose to see the world as coming into the heart of itself, into oneness with love, right? Why can't I see that and believe that and have that? Why can't I flipping have that? Why can't we all have that? So again, I'm still challenging this because it's a divine time. But am I not an influence of that divine time? Am I not a cog in that wheel? Am I not here being guided, and my determination has purpose for a reason? I don't know that I can ever stop. I don't know that I can ever stop trying. I feel like I have to keep talking. I have to keep saying things. I have to keep somehow reaching people to some sort of light to go off, and for people to say, oh my gosh, that's it. I know what to do now, or I know who I am now, or I know the next step for me, or I'm going to start praying and I'm going to whatever. Let the light go off and see what it says. Not because I told you to do it this way, but it just felt like you needed to do this. And maybe it's to start a farm for retired donkeys. Because you want to give back to animals. Because you care about the animal kingdom and donkeys, and that's your gift to helping the human race. It can be so random and outside the box, makes all the difference for every single man, woman, and child in this earth. And men are just as precious as women, are just as precious as babies. Just as precious as the animals, are just as precious as the trees, are just as precious as the air, are just as precious as this earth. How come I'm not saying are just as precious as money? I just don't know how to say it, that money is just as precious as babies. I just can't do it. So what is that saying about money is the root of all evil? I don't like it. It somehow has a reason for being, right? Is it money that is going to solve the relationship between the Queen of Hearts and the happy, bubbly fairy? Or was it an extraordinary epiphany of self-awareness and growth and evolution? I feel like this is closer to the answer, or the solution for our world is love and peace and bouncy houses and hot dogs for everybody, as they did in the Freedom Convoy. I can't ever stop thinking about that because it reached me so loud and so beautifully that it was the answer to everything. Anyway, it's just simply a conversation, right? It's just simply chatting. It's just simply sharing. It's just simply that. It's nice just to talk sometimes and just reflect on things and share what I've been reflecting, and maybe it means something to you, to gives you some new ideas. Thank you guys for being a part of this process. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Take care for now.